这是去不了了，全部停票了。
今天早上我是看到整个武汉市都公交车、地铁全部封城了。
当前要继续集中力量抓好湖北省，尤其是武汉市疫情防控。
害怕，说不害怕是假的。
然后一量那个体温37.5度，我说完蛋了。
不要以为武汉人都犯病了，
生命太脆弱。我来了，我一定要活着出去。
这2天，来自上海、浙江、海南、江西的医疗队先后出发。
我觉得我的城市并没有停下来，只是它的脚步很慢而已。
但如果我们不去的话，谁去呢？
只要希望不在，那么之前的所有这些都不会死。
自2020年1月23号10点起，全市城市公交、地铁、轮渡、长途客运暂停运营。
10 a.m., January 23rd. Wuhan goes into lockdown, an effort to stop a deadly virus from spreading further through the nation.
是看到整个武汉市都公交车、地铁全部封城了，然后还有很多人都没办法回家去。其实我是很同情他们的。
Chen Heng, a migrant worker, was among those who were forced to stay.
所以武汉地铁所有的交通都要关，所以我们在外面走，路上好多人。
He and his fellow workmates finally found a shelter, an underground parking lot.
我们准备去那个叫什么，有个地方就是救助站什么的。刚好那天晚上下雨，我们找了个地方躲了一下，雨下了，我们再慢慢的走。就走了半路，他说不收人了，他觉得那边人太满了，他不要了。
As Chen was walking in the rain, the number of confirmed coronavirus patients in Wuhan on day 1 of the lockdown was announced: 495. 10 times the number 2 weeks earlier. 9 million people were still in the city.
These authorities have traced a new deadly virus
from the wildlife sold in
this seafood market
in Wuhan that was illegally selling wildlife.
This seafood market was once believed to be the ground zero of the virus outbreak. Local authorities shut the market on January 1st, but the virus was already on the move. Dr. Zhao Zhigong was one of the first medical workers to face the virus in Wuhan.
对那个病人来说，他是从外地来的一名患者，发烧，有食欲下降，有咳嗽，然后同时他的 CT 当时在当地诊断了是肺炎。然后，但是我们就是拿当时的诊断标准，因为当时诊断标准第1条很重要，一定要有华南海鲜市场的接触史。
Wild animals were blamed, but evidence already pointed to human-to-human transmission.
有人传人，是在2个地方，一个在。
83-year-old epidemiologist Zhong Nanshan, regarded as a national hero during the 2002-2003 SARS crisis, broke the news to the public.
这个资料表示呢，它是肯定的有人传人。这个现在啊，绝大部分呢是来自于武汉或者去过武汉。所以现在呢，我的总的看法呢，就是没有特殊的情况呢，是不要去武汉啊。
It alerted people across China while the situation in Wuhan deteriorated.
这个实际上是有些升级了啊，这个它的传染性呢，因为它的现在已经存在有人传人，同时医务人也有传染。
Dr. Zhao's patient never visited the seafood market, but the virus was there anyway. 2 days later, it was confirmed, and Zhao was now infected.
就回家休息。突然回家一休息，出现了畏寒，然后全身乏力，然后一量那个体温37.5度，我说完蛋了。
More of Zhao's co-workers started to show symptoms.
像这样一个非保护的一个接触，这也是恰恰造成最终我们一组的医生护士全部被感染的原因之一。从那个时候开始，我们就知道这个疾病的传染性还是蛮高的。
Wuhan's 38,000 licensed medical workers were stretched thin as the virus progressed. As people turned up at fever clinics, the city's health system was buckling under the strain.
忙不过来，从来没见过这种架势呀，这种阵势。一个病人后面跟着一排病人，一个圈的病人，看着就有一点绝望的感觉到不了头。24小时不停的，还是有打不完的病人。
On the second day of the lockdown, work began on a new hospital. The new Huashanshan Hospital would have 1,000 beds specially designed to treat coronavirus patients.
我每天工作就是能够把事情能够往前面，就能够快的，就尽量让它快。
But one new hospital was not enough. A second emergency hospital promising another 1,600 beds was planned.
尤其是奋战在防疫一线的白衣天使们，拜年！我们在这儿过年，你们却在帮我们过关。
On Chinese New Year's Eve, a night for family reunions, more than 1,200 medical workers across China were drafted to aid Wuhan. On New Year's Day, President Xi Jinping chaired a meeting of the Politburo Standing Committee, stressing safety and health were the top priority, and containing the epidemic was the most important task.
I'm declaring a public health emergency of international concern over the global outbreak of novel coronavirus.
On January 31st, the World Health Organization declared the outbreak a public health emergency of international concern. The fight to cage the viper is no longer just about Wuhan.
The main reason for this declaration is not because of what is happening in China. Our greatest concern is the potential for the virus to spread to countries with weaker health systems.
Cities across China started to put medical supply factories back to work. Back in Wuhan, general hospitals started to modify their regular wards into quarantine rooms for treating severely ill coronavirus patients. We entered one of the wards, but we were told that nothing could be taken into the quarantine areas, including cameras.
这是清洁丙烯，这是工作丙烯，不行的。我们都没有带东西进去，我们都不能带手机。我们里面专门配了一台那个手机。我们专门自己，我掏钱买了一个台手机，1850。就我自己买了个新手机放在里面，那个手机是永远都不会拿出来的，除了这个疫情结束了以后，到时候我们把它裱起来，把它留作纪念。
What they are doing.
有支持的，也有不支持的。支持的就是那种分开，就是他独居，然后老婆和孩子到另外一个地方去住，
为了支援工作，
就是为了支援工作，而且还甚至有人剃光头的都有。然后我们是因为我每天在家里有2个小孩还有老人，他们是不太支持的，但是因为我比较坚决，就是因为太多需要我们了，所以就每天就是担心，回去以后就自我隔离。
然后我可能还害你挨骂了，是吧？
啊，对，然后我妈就骂我说她加入的是我影响了她。
Couriers are essential in this crisis. We meet some of them who are delivering medical equipment. This one has no time to talk.
公司是有规定是吧？没有。啊？因为我们赶时间。
We follow him to a warehouse and meet a nurse who coordinates the distribution of medical supplies.
就是武汉市和周边市区各个医院送物资，然后这边顺丰的站点就给予了很多帮助。包括有给荆州市中心医院送的物资，他们站点的费用都是他们员工自己出的。
自己出的。
对。
Only 3 express companies insisted on providing service in town, but only for sending and receiving medical goods.
有没有跟其他的公司的快递小哥交流过？羡不羡慕他们现在？
也不是羡慕，我觉得他们应该羡慕我们，因为我们在疫情最严重的时候还在挺身而出，还在为大家服务，我们觉得还是蛮自豪的。
真的吗？很自豪，
真的。
She lives alone in Wuhan while his family lives in a remote village. He often has to go to hospitals with coronavirus patients.
妻子特别支持我，知道吗？他说在外面要让我时刻的小心，8点钟约好，然后视频聊天，他还看一下是不是骗他。
他担心你骗他什么呢？
主要是担心我们在外面，像我们特别是进入这些医院的属于人员比较密集的地方。每次我小孩都说，这么一声爸爸真棒，这是我儿子每次说的，觉得蛮欣慰，知道。
On February 12th, more than 10,000 new cases were announced in the city. The surge came when health authorities started to use clinical symptoms to determine a coronavirus patient rather than relying on slow tests.
中共中央政治局常务委员会2月12号召开会议。
On the same day, President Xi led another meeting of the Politburo Standing Committee. The meeting concluded that formalism and bureaucracy were big enemies in the fight against the virus. The next day, Hubei province and the city of Wuhan saw a change in leadership and more stringent measures to tackle the epidemic. More help arrived. Another 1,400 military medics were sent to Wuhan on February 13th. 11 military aircraft brought medical teams and supplies. It's the first time that China's Y-20 transport plane is taking part in an operation outside of military drills.
这次我们医疗队头顶是精兵强将，重症、呼吸、传染、防疫。
今天我们都是武汉人。
By now, more than 30,000 medical workers had been sent to Wuhan from 29 provinces and regions. Production of protective gear was also picking up. Hubei province can now get over 300,000 N95 medical masks per day, up from 35,000 per day in late January. On February 17th, Wuhan said the city was finally able to quarantine all people who might spread the virus. How did they do it? Walking, knocking, and more knocking.
你好，今天一天都得把这一整层都敲完。我昨天这个同学手都敲红了，手都敲红了。
对啊，昨天我们手。
正常。
是什么？
哎，你好，体温是很正常。
哎，上面排查体温。
需不需要我们测量？哦，查一遍啊。你有没有糖尿病、高血压、中等患者？
体温都正常吗？
我等下好，放着灯好啊。
需不需要我们帮你测量啊？
Li checks 1,000 residents' health status to uncover coronavirus cases within her jurisdiction, or what she calls the grid.
他说妈妈是汪汪队的，后来就看到他爸爸就说外面很严重，他又很担心我，他还做梦，妈妈医院，他以为我生病了。
This has become a daily routine for Wuhan's community workers during the outbreak. And to keep the virus away from the healthy population, the city has strengthened its lockdown measures.
需外出就医的居民通过电话向社区报备。
Everyone is ordered to stay home until further notice. Only residents with medical emergencies or those with jobs relating to fighting the epidemic are allowed to leave. Groceries are purchased online, left at the entrances, and picked up later to avoid contact.
啊，能不能把你到医院去看看这个？不能，哪有的时候哪有？
你要不那个就给我们开点药的。
开我药说，你说要能开得到药，我找小张看个病历开的药的单子的，我找到单子来。
在人民医院去看过，我找不出来，再拿一张的。
这个有的礼品，那我搞2号就差不多。
我们还是给你想办法联系医院好。
这搞的安神药那些。
那个我们开安神药。
估计开不了，你非要有10张才能开，好不好？就是这样的，然后你说送上去，他说不去，他没病。但是你看，他确实是有渗透期，看到没？就是这样的人。
那现在你怎么办呢？
我现在就帮他买药，我等下给他送口罩来，送消毒片来关注的，那就随时他们家把电话留着。你想问什么他都不知道，什么都不知道。
Staying at home might avoid unnecessary contact, but there's a price to pay.
我就说搞了几十张，我们都是有工作的，要上班。
我们也忙着急啊。
我跟你讲，单位都要垮了。
是的。
搞了你妈这个警告模式的，3天6天14天20几天。
Nevertheless, demobilizing people in Wuhan is key to cutting off paths for the virus to spread.
The opinion of the joint mission, after looking at this very, very closely and in different ways, that there's no question that China's bold approach to the rapid spread of this new respiratory pathogen has changed the course of what was a rapidly escalating and continues to be deadly epidemic. And I just thought it's so important that we recognize that. And to the people of Wuhan, it is recognized. The world's in your debt. And when this disease finishes, hopefully we'll have a chance to thank the people of Wuhan for the role that they've played in it, because many of us, many other people here have suffered, but the people of that city have gone through an extraordinary period and they're still going through it.
One month after the lockdown, it seems like an end is approaching. More and more provinces start to see no increase in confirmed cases. And in Wuhan, patients with coronavirus symptoms no longer need to wait for days for the nucleic acid test. The number of daily new cases is on the verge of dropping into double digits. Doctors and nurses can't relax, but the country is behind them.
各地对我们的这种资助，我们就是生活上的改善，人员上的改善，特别感激，是真心的感激。就是之前就以为就是我们自己，对武汉的这种，这样的，然后其实就知道，其实不是一个人在战斗，全国人民都在支持我们。
我相信这次疫情给每个人都会留下一个深刻的记忆。
The battle isn't over, but people are now looking ahead to the day when love and life can resume.
我说潘多拉的盒子已经打开了，然后灾难、恐惧、疾病这些都跳出来了，然后但是这个盒子里面最后的一样东西，就是我们看这个希腊神话里面他说的，就是希望。只要希望还在，那么之前的所有这些都不会是问题。
了。